Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the City of Fort Saskatchewan Protective Services and the RCMP, I'd like to welcome you to our community town hall to have a conversation with you about your safety and your priorities. My name is Corrine Rayner, and I'm the Director of Protective Services for the city. I'd like to begin our evening with a land acknowledgement. The City of Fort Saskatchewan is located within Treaty 6 and Métis Nation of Alberta District 11, the ancestral and traditional territory of the Niihau, Dene, Blackfoot, Saulteaux, Nakota Sioux, and Métis. We acknowledge the many First Nations, Métis, and Inuit whose footsteps have marked these lands for generations. It is because of our treaty relationship that we can live, work, and play in Treaty 6 territory. I'd like to introduce you to our Protective Services leadership team that's here with us tonight to help answer any questions that you may have. First is our Detachment Commander, Inspector Barry Larocque. We have Staff Sergeant Terry Hagen, Sergeant James Skew, with Municipal Enforcement, Sergeant Ben Sharp. We have our Corporate Communications Director, Jesse Bailey, with us. He's helping us with the online virtual portion of the town hall. And at the end there is Lauren Reed. She's our Protective Services Coordinator and keeping minutes for us this evening and keeping us on track. We are streaming this event live, so you can see our little camera up there. And I'd like to welcome everybody who is joining us virtually tonight. We ask that you're mindful of the camera. It does pick up the voices, and we will have an opportunity for questions and a conversation at the end of our presentations. Inspector Larocque and I welcome feedback, and we're here to take that constructive feedback and have that good conversation with you about our policing priorities. For those of you that are joining online, there is the ability to post your questions in the chat function. Some other special guests that we have with us, we have Mayor Gail Ketcher, Councillor James Abatoye, and Councillor Lisa Macon with us this evening. We also have one representative from our Fort Saskatchewan Policing Committee, Terry Noble. The Policing Committee is made up of 9 members of the public, and they act as a communication link between the community, the RCMP, and City Council. So they endeavor to understand the needs, values, and expectations of our community when it comes to community safety and policing needs. And how they do that is they go out to community events. Their meetings are open to the public. We have the ability to, all the public can come and attend. Their meetings are open. So there are many different ways that you can engage with the policing committee. Just a couple quick housekeeping items. There are washrooms just out down the hallway to the right, and if in case an emergency happens, we will exit, and there is a muster point across the road here towards the hotel. Tonight, you're going to be hearing information from the Fort Saskatchewan Detachment Commander and his team on the detachment personnel and RCMP operations, and to have a conversation with Barry on your policing priorities. I'll be sharing some information on municipal enforcement and the partnership that we have with the RCMP to ensure the safety in our community. I'd like to now introduce Inspector Larocque to talk to you about the policing priorities.
You haven't heard me speak yet. I hold off on the applause. Thank you very much, Corrine. I'm very proud to represent our detachment here tonight, talking about some of the concerns and things that we've done over the past year, and then look at our policing priorities moving forward for 24-25. So in the RCMP, we operate on a fiscal year, so it's April to April. So when I say fiscal year 24-25, that's what we kind of use as our baseline on most of our statistical keeping and things of that sort. So our detachment is a 24-hour detachment, available to the community, both Fort Saskatchewan and surrounding. Our front counter is open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. Monday to Friday, 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturdays, and it's closed on Sundays. Now that's just the front counter, obviously, we're there all the time. Fort Saskatchewan Detachment has dispatchers, so when you call the complaint line, it will ring through to dispatchers that are actually located in Fort Saskatchewan Detachment. So we have what I affectionately call the bubble in the middle of our detachment that the calls come into, and then they're dispatched out to our members at that time. 911 calls will go into our OCC, which is in K Division headquarters, which is down by the Kingsway Mall in Edmonton. So we are close to the operations for that, I guess, 18-hour period where our operators are actually dispatching the calls. And in terms of police administrative support, we have 27 municipal employees. They consist of police clerks and administrative support, and there's also peace officers, 8 full-time, 1 casual, and 1 sergeant. So this is our complement of our detachment. So I report through to a Chief Superintendent Mike Good, who is in charge of our Central Alberta District. So it's basically an area around the city of Edmonton, down to around Calgary, out to Rocky Mountain House, and then out towards the Saskatchewan border. And then myself as the inspector, and then James and Terry as our 2 NCOs. Terry takes care primarily of the uniform response, and James takes care of our support units. So our GIS, our domestic violence, our school resource officer, and our general investigation section. So in total, we have 33 established positions on the municipal side and 8 provincial. So that means that 33 are paid for by the city of Fort Saskatchewan, and 8 are paid through the policing contract with the province. So that totals our 41 complement. So our detachment area. So, there we go. Obviously the city of Fort Saskatchewan there. And I'm going to have to move, and I apologize to everyone out in internet land. And then our detachment here. So we go in and around the city, out to here, and there's the band where Strathcona County is, and then we take over. So there's a band that Strathcona County polices in between, kind of right around Fort Saskatchewan, and then out towards the Bruderheim, Lamont area. So they have a band of land in there that the Strathcona Detachment polices. So to give you just an idea, I could stand up here and quote different numbers and what have you, that I could make your eyes bleed with them. What it comes down to is the numbers are what it is, but there's also the perception of the community in terms of the safety that we try and bring to you. So if you look at that one there, in 2019, there was 8,828 calls for service. Dropped a little bit in 2020, 2021. Obviously, we're in the middle of the pandemic. Started coming out of 2022, and 2023, we got 7,981 calls. So those are the calls for service and the files that are generated in. So that's everything from a break and enter to a traffic ticket to a homicide to aggravated assaults. So those are our general numbers. And then those are, we operate on what we call a post concept. So those 41 positions will go next call, the next member will take. So there could be municipal funded positions working on rural files, and in converse, there's a chance for the provincial funded members to work on city calls. So we'll go where the next call is. So some crime stats. So this is prepared by our people, our OSB, our Operational Strategy Branch. So if you look, this is the municipal numbers. So between 2022 and 2023, we saw an increase of 11% in the persons crimes, 2% property crime, and 7% in the other criminal code. And then so if you go over to the property crime, because that's one of the issues that we keep getting told is a problem, we've seen a 6% decrease in break and enters, and then we've had increases of 4% and 10% in thefts and theft under 5,000, or motor vehicles and theft under 5,000. We don't have a large number of files, so a small number of files could actually change and skew the numbers fairly quickly. So I'm going to pass it back to Corinne, who's going to talk a little bit about some of the traffic safety aspects, and then I'll come back up and we'll get into kind of some discussions about priorities and things of that sort.
So in my role with Protective Services, I oversee municipal enforcement services and the police administrative staff that support the RCMP. I work closely with Inspector LaRock on the delivery of policing services within our community. The RCMP and municipal enforcement do partner together when it comes to traffic safety, and it's always an important priority in our city. We have adopted the Vision Zero goal to have 0 fatalities and major injury collisions on our roadways. We take a safe systems approach to traffic safety and utilize many different city departments such as Public Works and Engineering, the RCMP and Municipal Enforcement, and the Policing Committee all work together on traffic safety. Traffic safety really is all of our responsibility. It's how we drive on our roadways. It's about our engineering and traffic calming and then enforcement as well. There's 5 pillars that help us achieve our traffic safety outcomes, and those are education, engineering, enforcement, engagement, and evaluation. So we're always looking at our traffic safety systems, evaluating the collisions that occur in the city. And you can get involved if need. The community can go on the city's website and do a Fort report for any type of traffic safety concern that you have, and it will get assigned to the appropriate department. Overall, our total collisions have decreased by 10% in the last year. So what that means is we had 411 total collisions in the city in 2023, and that is down from 455 in 2022. So we've met the goal of 0 fatality collisions for 2023, but unfortunately we have seen an increase to our injury collisions and vulnerable road users. So that's with pedestrians and bicyclists, as well as we've seen an increase in scooter, kids riding scooters. So that's something that we're keeping an eye on of how we can affect change in that driver behavior. 36% of all collisions happen at intersections, and rear end is the most common type of collision that occurs. And Highway 15 and 21 is our one of our busiest intersections as far as traffic volume. It's also where we see the most collisions happening in the city. Municipal enforcement services consists of 9 community peace officers who focus on enforcement of our bylaws and other provincial statutes, and animal control. They do a lot of the traffic safety work as well in the city. This chart just shows you a little bit of our common file types and what creates the bulk of our work. So we have the community standards bylaw, the traffic bylaw, and animal control bylaw are 3 of our biggest areas where we do a lot of our work in. We also do a lot of assistance to the RCMP, parking complaints. So right now we're working on snow removal, so we deal with some abandoned vehicles, parking issues. So that's just some of our statistics. Municipal enforcement does have some priorities and projects that we're working on for 2024. One of them is to update our animal control bylaw. We'll be taking that to council in the spring of this year. And we're really going to focus on responsible pet ownership in the community as well. Traffic safety continues to be a priority that we're focused on, and commercial vehicle enforcement is one area that you will see increased in having an officer pull over those commercial vehicles in the city. We're also planning to continue on with a bike rodeo event. This is an event that municipal enforcement partners with the RCMP and the fire department to educate youth on bicycle safety in the city, and it's really a great event that our officers really enjoy to have fun with the youth in the community. I wanted to touch a bit on what we heard at last year's town hall. Traffic safety, police visibility, and property crime were the top areas of concern last year. We had discussions on some areas within the city for school zone enforcement, speeding, and vehicle noise. We talked about domestic violence, graffiti, and also the unhoused individuals that we're seeing in our community. So those are just some of the areas that we did focus on in 2023, and I'll turn it back over to Barry to talk about the policing priorities.
Okay, so this is the meat and potatoes of kind of why we're here this evening. So up on the screen you see the 23-24 policing priorities. So last year we did a number of town halls. We did one here in Fort Saskatchewan, we did one in Bruderheim, we did one in Lamont, and we did one in Chipman because we police all those 4 areas. The dark labels there, traffic safety, community relations and police visibility, and property crime was kind of what we ended up focusing on in this year, in this fiscal year. So we've got 3 quarters of the year. We're just coming up on the last quarter now. And so we'll have our final statistics at the end of the year. So the first one under traffic safety was conduct option 4 joint enforcement operations. So what we're trying to do there is an education thing. So we did stop signs, speeding in school zones, and distracted driving so far this year. And what we do is our people go out and they give them a ticket, a long court date, but then they invite the people to come to a information session. And if they come to the information session and participate, then the ticket is gone or ripped up and gone away. So it's a way of trying to get the message across. If they choose not to come to the session, then obviously the ticket goes forward in the court. So far this year we've done 2 complete, and we've just went on to our 3rd here now. So we're getting upwards of 50 people on each session coming in. So they'll hand out 50 tickets, people will come in and have their education session, and then that ticket is then squashed after that. So it's been well received in the community. Conduct road safety presentation. So we're trying to get out to people and talk about road safety. So far this year we've done 4. We're looking to do 6 for the entire fiscal year. So we're certainly on track to do that. So if people have groups that they'd like us to come and talk to, I know one of the smaller communities wanted to come and talk about off-highway vehicle safety and helmet safety on that, those type of things. So we have people that will come in, develop presentations, and go out and deliver them. And then the impaired driving behaviors, those are our check stops. So our goal at the beginning of the year was to do 40 of those, and so far this year we've done 26. So again, that's us going out in the city and into the bit of the rural area and going and doing check stops. Those are the traditional check stops where we set up the vehicles, people drive through, and then we ensure that they're not impaired. One of the things we heard last year is the community relations and policing visibility. One of the things that I talk to people, it's like, hey, we don't see you guys, right? Where are you? You're not patrolling, you're not doing anything. Well, one of the things I say is a lot of the times people are in bed. I used to say a lot of people didn't know what happened in their community after 10 o'clock at night, and that's kind of moving back further and further to about 8 o'clock at night. I can assure you we are out there doing the different types of police work, and so yeah, we're out there, I guess is the easiest way to say it. We have a CPVS, a Community Policing Victim Services, and that's a dedicated person that works a lot with the different groups here in the city. And so at the beginning of the year, we asked you to do 300 community events to attend. And the other members will pitch in as well when they can. but we've done 280 of those events already this year. And so that person for us is Sarah Bolton, and then the rest of the members kick in and they're helping at schools and different things like that. The Create, Develop, and Track Fort Saskatchewan Facebook posts. Beginning of the year, I wanted to have our own Facebook page. Well, our people in K Division have been fighting with Meta the whole year to try and get a Facebook page. And it's all these new rules that are out there with regards to you can't have more than one moderator and things of that sort. I don't proclaim to understand it. So needless to say, we haven't got our Facebook page up. What we're trying to do now, though, is piggyback onto the city and use their established social media platforms to try and get some of our messaging. Hence why we're streaming here tonight, and we're doing some different things with the social media platforms. So we have gotten no traction at all in the Facebook posts. Another issue that we heard about is property crime. Again, we've got Create, Develop, and Track number of people signed onto Capture. Capture was a initiative that initially came and we were going to do locally to the city, where people who have video cameras in and around their house or security systems could register onto a platform and indicate that they have video at 123 Main Street. And then the RCMP, if we had a crime on Main Street, we could go onto the platform and see who's on Main Street that might have security video, and then we could go do our door knocks and say, hey, listen, could you check your video to know if something happened between 2 and 4 on such and such a day. We were prepared. We had our summer student in the last, when was she here? In the last year?
2023.
Yeah, 2023. Do a bunch of work for us. And all of a sudden our community safety and well-being branch in K Division said, okay, we're going to roll this out province-wide. And it's been a stumble start. I don't think we've been able to go out and promote it. So that's one of the things that we want to try and get going. There's people who think, well, the police are going to look at my video, or they got access to my camera. There's nothing to that. The RCMP don't have anything. Big Brother's not watching your cameras. It's only you volunteering to let us know we have video possibly available to us. So it kind of streamlines some of our work. Crime prevention presentations, including CEPTED. CEPTED is crime prevention through environmental design. So what we do is we have some of our people are trained somewhat, but there's people in K Division, headquarters, that will come out and do presentations about how to make your property a bit more safe with regards to lighting, cutting bushes and things of that sort. So we've done, and we wanted to do 18 of those presentations, and we're a little behind. We've only got 9 done so far this year. But when our resource from the CEPTED resource from K Division comes out, she says that we're probably one of the more active communities that is actually trying to get the word out there. So we're going to continue to try and have her come through the remainder of this year and certainly into next year as well. And then compliance checks on court-ordered conditions. So this is a very tangible thing that we do with people that are on court-ordered conditions. A lot of those involve curfews. And so we will go check on these people at different times during the day, different times during the night, and into the early morning to make sure they're abiding by their curfew and are in their home or the place they're supposed to be. So we've got 21 offender management files, so that's what we call the people. So we have 21 people that we're checking on, and we've checked on them so far this year 122 times. So that means us physically going out, knocking on their door and making sure that they're home when they should be home. So those are kind of our policing priorities and how we've done this year thus far. And normally, the bold ones, the traffic safety, the community relations, and the property crime, those are pretty synonymous across most jurisdictions, right? Those are most issues that people have to, are worried about. We certainly see that. We had a couple more last year that were domestic violence and our member wellness. We took those away. And that's primarily because if we get too many of them, we're not going to do it. Domestic violence we still take care of, and we it's still one of our things that we consistently work on, but we just didn't make it a priority. And then member wellness, was a decision that we made as a management team to take that and just, again, continue to worry about it in an attachment, but not necessarily make it a priority. But I know Jibs is one that every time we speak, she's very concerned with our member well-being because our job is very difficult and very taxing. One of the things I can't say about policing, it's become so much more complicated. We're going to be doing a presentation to council here very soon, and one of the elements that has changed, I've been doing this 31 years now, is the complexity of what we do. So there was a Supreme Court decision that just came out this week that basically said if we're investigating a crime that has to do with an IP address, normally if, I'll use our guys here, so if Terry's investigating and he's talking to James as the complainant and she says, someone has contacted me at this IP address, we can't even take that IP address. We have to go back to the office and write what we call a production order to go get that, that production order to find that IP address. What we're finding is that because we have our GIS section, that used to be the people that were writing all of our search warrants, our judicial authorizations. Well, that has changed, that our members, our uniform members that are out in the street, most of them now are writing production orders and judicial authorizations to further their investigations. So the complexity of our policing has become so much more voluminous that it takes away from us being on the road because we're sitting at the back drafting judicial authorizations. And the courts have very high expectations about what they want to see in court packages. So that's one of the things that's really changed in policing, certainly in my time here, but even in the last 5 years with these decisions in the courts. So yeah, it's becoming a whole lot more complicated. So these are some of the trends that we're seeing in Fort Saskatchewan. Let me just bump up here a couple of pages. There we go. We're seeing a large increase in crime with youth. So in 2023, we had 604 reported occurrences, and we call these negative interactions, and that's only because we certainly have lots of positive interactions in the schools and talking to kids and what have you, but we've had 604 reported occurrences. So that's up 43% from 2021 and up from 31% from 2022. So these things include Mental Health Act. So lots of kids have mental health issues, and so we're dealing with those a fair bit. Person reported missing. So mental health, we had 60 calls for service. Person reported missing, 54. Well-being checks, so let's go checking on young people, 53. So we've got, so that's a lot of work that we're dealing with youth, and that we're there to deal with youth. I'm not saying we shouldn't be doing it, but we need some help from other elements and other parts of society, because we can't necessarily be parents, and the work that we're doing with these kids certainly takes us away from doing other proactive work and other enforcement work. It's important, but what I'm here to try and stress is we need to come together as community groups and say, what's the problem, and can we do anything about it? Very alarming, we had 39 reported assaults in 2023. So that is primarily youth that are the perpetrators of that crime. So the second thing that we have, and I team, this is my term that I call, and it's life management. So we increase life management calls for service. We get a lot of calls with regards to parenting. We've been asked, I go back to this one all the time. One night we had a young girl who said, called the police and said, my mom wants me to go to bed, it's 1 o'clock in the morning, can you come over and help us? Right? And so, to prevent further problems, we went over and mediated and dealt with it. But again, the 10, 20, 30 minutes that it takes us away from doing something else. The other one, and this is kind of one of my favorite ones, is at Christmas time, we had someone call in and complain. It was a mother calling in about their, I think it was an adult child, if you will, about, she didn't like the size of he was cutting cabbage, and she didn't like the size of the cuts, and contacted the police. So again, these are some of the things, right? Those are certainly the far end of the spectrum, but these are things that we're taking for calls for service. And we try and deal with every call. It might not necessarily involve police attendance, but we try to make sure that it doesn't escalate into something else. Increase in frauds, and I have the thing diversity in there, and what it is the amount of fraud. So we've got Bitcoin frauds that are coming along, and we're getting people losing thousands of dollars in Bitcoin. And those are very involved, complicated investigations. We've had some that, what's some of the amounts, guys, that we've had?
Oh, 100,000, 150,000.
Yeah, so we're doing fraud investigations in our detachment for $150,000, which primarily with certainly Bitcoin is a very convoluted, complex thing that involves lots of judicial authorizations. We have one that is tied over to a country overseas, and so now we're trying to do work to identify people and then see where that goes. We have the grandparent scams, where people will call in and say, Grandpa, you gotta help me, I need to. And then Grandpa will come in, and I had a gentleman come into our front counter and had $10,000 in his pocket that he was gonna go give to someone. And luckily, he was switched on, came and asked us, hey, listen, do you have our son in your cells? No, we don't have our son, your grandson. And of course, then he just felt embarrassed, right? He got scammed. But these guys are good. The scammers are good, right? If they could use devote their energy to good instead of evil, you know what? It would probably be a good thing. But we're getting all these things. We've had some in Lamont where people went out and actually handed cash to the perpetrators in broad daylight. We're not so much getting the cards anymore in terms of the gift cards. So you send us gift cards and things of that sort. But we're getting so many of these, and again, complex, and some people have lost money, and money is a tough thing nowadays, so we want to try and see if we can get it back. The problem is, a lot of times once it's gone, it's very tough to get back. And the sextortion, again, probably something not necessarily for this room, I'm hoping, but sextortion is taking a picture of oneself, sending it on the internet, and then someone getting a hold of it and saying, hey, listen, if you don't send me X, Y, or Z in terms of money, I'm going to send your picture out Y. And this is predominantly a younger person crime, but yet it's into that young adulthood stuff as well. And it is, again, we're getting a number of them. And as much as we try and go and into the schools and into public talks and say, don't take pictures of your stuff and then send it to other people, right? Because once you send it, you lose it. And then you don't know who's got it and where it goes from there. So again, we're trying to do education as well on the front end, and Sarah does a lot of that work, and so do the other members when they go into the schools. But this is a new thing that's coming, not a new thing, but it's a thing that's becoming more prominent here in the city. So again, we, in 2022, we did a survey. It was just before I arrived, but we did a survey that we asked 5 questions, Aaron, or Lord? 5 questions about policing. And so we were talking about, and these are some of the things that came out in 2022. And so we asked these 5 questions, and we thought, well, we'd like to maybe try another survey. But then we were sitting back brainstorming, we thought, well, maybe we should ask the same questions and see what differences we get. So that QR code there, it takes you to the survey. And for those online, Jesse, how would they find the survey online? Just go to Fort Sask?
Yeah, the fortsask.ca/RCMP town hall.
Okay, and they can take that that survey and answer those 5 questions. And then I think what Karine and I have committed to this year is to look at another survey and get it out to the community, and again, get the feelings and concerns and things of that sort. back from the community. One of the things that when the debate was ongoing about the provincial police in the province going to a provincial police force away from the RCMP, one of the things that were said was, oh, everything is determined by Ottawa, right? And we vehemently stand that that's not true. Most communities are going to their citizens and to their elected officials and saying, okay, what should we be doing in your community? Because Ottawa doesn't know what's happening in Fort Saskatchewan on a Tuesday night at 11 o'clock. And that's why we're here to ask people to contribute, right? Tell us what's going on. We've got big shoulders. I always say we're like the old time boxer, right? We can take body shots after body shots, and we could say if we're doing something not right, then we'll certainly say, okay, well, thanks for letting us know. What do we need to do it differently? I think we do a lot of things well. Again, biased comment, but I think we do. And but one of the things I think we really do well is go to our communities and say, okay, tell us what's your concerns, what's going on, and go from there. So that leads into the final slide that I have, and then we can have some questions before. So the priorities and initiatives. Again, I think the priorities, those broad ones, I think those are relatively standard, but it's the initiatives. So I'm going to the group here at online because there is the comment section is working, so we can ask questions. But I'm coming to you now and saying, listen, tell us what you think we need to be working on as your police service in Fort Saskatchewan and in the rural area. So I'll open it up first, I think, some initiative stuff, and then we can go into some questions before that, if we want to mix the two. I think now it's just free flow time. So anyways, anyone have any thoughts, concerns, ideas, jokes? So go ahead, no, go back there first.
So first of all, I just wanted to make a comment about what you said about the domestic violence and it kind of falling off as a priority. And I think that when we talked about that last year and it fell off, it was because we have dedicated resources for domestic violence. And so it's not to say it's not a priority, but we felt like that was already a priority because we have dedicated resources. Would you say that that's true?
Yeah, I would say that's true, and I can say, because I talked to Arminder, who's our domestic violence coordinator, and our domestic violence numbers are dropping, but again, there's still enough of them that they're a concern, right? There's still some issues with that. But yeah, it's again, maybe a bit of a name game in terms of priority versus a concern.
Right.
But yeah, we worry about some of the things that we're seeing from the domestic violence side.
So on the initiatives comment, I guess I would ask, like, what could we do with youth to create a better trend in those crime rates? Like, is there
Okay, so
initiatives that we've already thought of or ideas that we have for the next year to help with that?
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to reverse the mirror and put that right back on you. Because again, I have ideas, like as the mounted police, we certainly have ideas what we can do and as MES. But that's why we're here. It's not like, not right now, it's very be quiet time and crowd and online talk and let us know. So what is it? I don't know. Like putting kids in jail is not the answer. So then what do we do to do that? So again, I reverse it back and say, does anyone have any ideas of what we may be able to do with kids? Sarah Bolton is very involved with kids in our community, but we do have some little groups of kids that I hate to use the word gangs, but we have little groups of kids that kind of cloister together, and there's strength in numbers. So we do have a little bit of that. But I throw it back. Any ideas what we should be or maybe could be doing with kids? And candidly, nothing's, as long as it's not immoral, illegal, or not affordable. Any ideas? What should we be doing?
Where do those groups of kids hang out?
They're kind of all over the place. Summertime, I think they're hanging out at the skate park. The water park is one in the summertime. Where else have we seen it, fellas?
Some of the businesses, we'll see them congregate in some of the 7-Elevens, in between there in the schools, in the parks sometimes. Here, yeah, good point.
Yeah.
I guess just make sure that you know, your presence is seen. You know, when you're out there, you know, you're driving around, stop. You get out of your cars, walk around, see what they're doing. Just to make sure that they know that you're there.
Yeah. No, and our proactive patrols, I can tell you that, against my doctor's wishes, I'll go to the 7-Eleven and have some taquitos and sit outside the one over by the schools, right? And it does, it changes the behavior, absolutely, right? When we're not there, it does change the behavior. We've been to the actual business and saying, hey, listen, like, are you gonna change how you deal with it? And they said, no, we're fine, right? Because that's a pretty prime time for sales in there. But yes, our proactive patrols, we do get out in some of the different areas. The one thing with proactive patrols though, like if we drive away, right, then it's like sand on a beach, right? It just, or water on the sand on the beach, it just kind of falls back in. So it's like, what more, like, so again, with the schools, how do we maybe temper some of that off-campus stuff while they are on lunch break or after school or things of that sort? But those, so proactive patrols, I think, is certainly one. Right?
Yeah, well, two comments I'd like to make to that.
Yep.
So I'm wondering if there's an opportunity to bridge the connection between the police and some of the youth with sports. Potentially having like a drop-in where there's like a basketball game where maybe people, not just police, but bylaw, other community members, welcome the youth to engage in an activity that is, you know, fun, but also as a way to maybe bridge the gap of local communications. They're having challenges.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my suggestions. The second suggestion, and I'm trying to find the name, is at my daughter's school, they actually had about the sextortion. They had a parent educational class with, I believe it's a Celtus Center, like a presenter came and had parents come and listen to a presentation of what consent is, on what sextortion is. Like even as a parent, like all of our hair was like going backwards as we're thinking, when do you start having these conversations about taking pictures of yourself and putting it out onto the social media? As a parent, like educating the parent first, and then that bridges some communication between parents understanding so that they're more aware of potentially what their children are doing with this new gadget that is now creating a lot of challenges with our youth.
So not necessarily go and educate the kids, educate the parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And starting it young, like they're starting conversations like that with parents at my daughter's school in like kindergarten up, with parents that can start having, and then the slides, I can actually find the slides on, maybe share with you what they gave at different ages for parents to start having different open dialogue conversations so that the parents are aware that then can start teaching that younger to the children.
Okay. There we go. That's why we're throwing it back. I don't. James, do you remember Sarah talking anything about that?
Sarah has had conversations, not necessarily in the schools, but she has had conversations in other communities.
Yeah.
But yeah, you make a great point. Every year it seems like you need to have that conversation earlier and earlier in their life. They're being exposed to stuff that us in this room were never exposed to at a certain age. These phones carry a lot of data. We're finding, and this has been going on a while, where kids will be playing a game and these predators are actually going through these games and communicating with your child. And we had an instance where a person asked for a picture of their foot. Send me a foot picture. And you know, it was disturbing, and thank goodness the youth reported it to the parents. Yeah, it's getting younger and younger every year, and it's scary and it's dangerous. So you make a great point. I think that's something we can look at and trying to get into the schools and have those conversations.
How many parents showed up?
Probably not as many as that would have thought how important it was to be there.
Okay.
Like I kind of innocently went and was but I think through parent council and,
Yep.
and through the school and through the actual program, having a couple of people really emphasize the importance of going.
Okay.
Because the whole time I'm sitting there, I'm like, so many more parents really do need to hear this and have those open conversations about that at a younger age. And they even had like different options of how to put proper screen, like proper protection on the phones to stop some of that and like some of the more economical ways, because it can be quite expensive to have those safety things on phones, but they gave a bunch of options, which I was very educational. So I'm willing to share that with the department and give some information, because it was well worth attending.
Okay, we certainly do that. To your first point with regards to sporting things like that, we're open to do that. We played basketball, we played some volleyball, we got schooled in basketball.
That's what I was saying.
Yeah, we did, and actually it was with the some youth from the Filipino community, directly. And they found it very interesting, because we started mixing the teams at one point after we couldn't run anymore, and because they just ran the whole time. So yes, we're open to doing that through the schools. We certainly are, through groups like community groups. We are. Again, sports is good. What else is there, right? What else is out there that we should be tapping into that maybe isn't hockey or basketball or what have you, that kids are doing? I was at the Boys and Girls Club, and they were gaming, and so I sat with them and I watched them gaming, and that was interesting, right? To see what they're doing, of course, and of course I chime in every once in a while, make sure we're back on the internet. But so again, what other things are out there for us to leverage to gain that medium by which we can have that discussion? So.
So we've also got kids that are in Sparks and Embers. Do you guys ever come out and maybe speak to those groups of kids as well, like to share, you know?
I'm going to say we haven't, because we haven't been invited, right? So again, if you are somehow,
Get you invited?
Yeah.
yeah, we will go, we'll go almost anywhere and chat with kids, and we're looking at getting into even one of the groups that I think, so we need to deal with kids, certainly, but one of the groups is, I think, those 18 to 22s as well. And how do we get to those people, right? Or those kids, or the young people, I guess it is, and get the messaging to them, because sometimes they're out of high school, they might not be going to university or secondary education, and they might be getting lost, and maybe there's booze starting into their lives and what have you. Where do we get to them so that we can sit down? Because it's like we have to be invited, because when we impose ourselves, it's not overly well received. Right? And Jim's shaking her head here right now, and that's the thing. That's why I go back to you. If there's opportunities to come and talk, we'll come and talk. And it doesn't have to be the old guys here. We've got some young people that we can task and to go out and do these things as well. They're a little more reluctant because they like doing this all the time. But that's the beauty of being a boss. You can kind of tell people what to do sometimes. So.
Well, and I'm even wondering too, is like, there's probably a lot of maybe people that would consider going into policing. Like I see you guys have your recruitment of like trying to get people both into police and into fire, EMT, like somehow connecting with the youth, maybe at like not a job fair, but something along those lines where they can see what the job is, as opposed to turning to crime. They might actually be empowered to stay clean and then go into the force. My dad was RCMP, so I'm like, I'm passionate about, so, but that might be another option is.
How come you're not a member?
Pardon me?
How come you're not a member?
I'm a member in training.
Oh, okay.
One of those like people.
You want an application?
I want.
We can have you on a bus to Regina in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah,
No.
that's another.
Yeah, and we're really concentrating on our recruiting. So this year we had a couple events at the farmers market, and we did a number of things around town down at a couple of the community events in the parks. So yeah, we're trying to get out there more. And the thing, police has got a bad rep right now. Like it's tough being a police officer, and certainly we need to show people that it is a rewarding career, and it is again, I kind of always go back to the money. It's good money, right? After 3 years, you're making over $100,000 a year. Not a lot of careers you can do that, right? That being said, not everyone's cut out to be a police officer either, right? So, no, good points. What else? What else are we doing? We'll go here first, and then back to you, Stu, the mayor's first.
All right, thank you. So I just want to say I think you're doing a great job, and I understand a lot of people don't always see you at 2 in the morning. We only do it when we're campaigning, we see you up there. But I guess the question I have for your 2024 and 2025 priorities, because we're so excited about these industrial announcements coming, we know we're going to be impacted by a major shadow population. So have you began the planning for how you're going to deal with the shadow population?
Yes and no. Yes, we're coming to see you in 3 weeks for an ask. And we know it's coming, and we're still trying to evaluate the impact that it's going to have. We've been going to other jurisdictions and saying, so like a Fort McMurray, how did you guys deal with it? The thing with ours, I don't think there's, like I think our hotels are going to be filled, and I think there's going to be a transient population that comes in, and the traffic is going to be a huge one. So to Karine and her MES people, Highway 21 or 2115, that connection in there, that's going to be one of a major thing, and as we start getting equipment coming in as well. So we've started looking at it, but we're probably not far enough into it to know exactly what we're going to do. Stu?
We talk about the police and youth, and I think it's very important that we always have that connection. And I commend Sarah Gold in regards to what her job is. Is there anybody else other than Sarah that goes into the schools?
Yeah, so every one of the schools in town has a member that's assigned to it as a liaison. In addition to, we have a full-time SRO, a school resource officer, and that is Lauren Mowbray. And so she's in, a lot of it is in the junior high and high schools. And so she's our primary SRO, but every one of the schools has members assigned to it. And if they call and need a presentation or something like that, we'll try and accommodate them. If we can't, if that member can't come do it, then we'll try and find someone else to do it as well. But thanks for prompting that, Stu, because our SRO, I got a couple things about her. Our one-person SRO, and I can tell you this, that Sherwood Park Detachment, I think, has 5 people in their SRO department. We have 1, and I can say this affectionately, she's like the Energizer Bunny, as Lauren is. So she's made 142 school liaison visits so far in 2023. Just trying to read some of the things. So we've done things like Remembrance Day, Christmas, Halloween. We a bunch of us went and read some books in school. Nothing like being corrected by an 8-year-old. But the SRO is in several junior high school classes talking about social media and sextortion. She spends lots of time with the principals, the counselors, and the school support team, touching on students and the concerns of what they have. So she's in there a lot. And again, we augmented or complemented by some of the other members going in and doing something as well. And then the 2 external schools in Lamont and Bruderheim, we have members attached to those as well. But we could be in there a whole lot more, but right now it's balancing everything, right, is what it is. And looking at the value, because it's one of those things, it's like the MasterCard commercial. Not necessarily do you see a tangible benefit right away, but I think there is, right? That exposure to the kids and for them to feel comfortable with us. And I know when we were down with the Fort Black Society, there was some trepidation to start, and then once all of a sudden we went out and started playing football, what have you, you could sense that it got better, right? So again, we need to do more of that, is what we need to do.
Along with that, one thing I find that we're missing out on is that we have an awful lot of sports in our city, whether it be basketball or whatever. And I think there's a tremendous value in regards to our members, both RCMP and bylaws, stopping by and just chatting it up with the young people. That goes an awful long way. I can remember years ago where one of our members were assigned to coaching a certain team in the sport, where he would actually go in uniform and coach the kids. And that has great value for down the road for the kids as well as for the community itself.
Yeah, so we're gonna be doing, I think one of our people are gonna get involved with the football here, come the spring, spring and summer. Yeah, we certainly can do more. Some of that is us pushing as a management team to get our people to do that. It's interesting, you think all of us are outgoing and there's a lot of people that are a bit introverted, and especially when they put on their uniform as well. So yeah, it's something we gotta do.
I think it's really valuable that our inspectors start refereeing lacrosse. It would be a great asset.
You know what? No. Because there's a lot of running and I'm not catching one of those sticks in the head. But it's interesting, yesterday I was driving back to the office and there was a group of younger people and they had some special needs. And so they were over at the bus stop right by our office. And I stopped the vehicle and I went and had a chat with them. Well, and just to your point, Stu, the first thing they asked, what do we do? And I said, nothing. I said, I'm just coming to say hi. And so then again, they started to relax because no one was in trouble and what have you. So again, trying to work towards that, where it's not that we're just dealing with you and we're hassling you and we're coming down on you. It's a long process to get there, and there's a lot of mistrust of us right now. That's the simple part about it, right?
I know one of the priorities was traffic, and I think it was in 2022. There was, I think the numbers are 11 million vehicles went through Fort Saskatchewan, which is unbelievable. So whenever it comes to traffic having a problem, really we don't have a problem, but that's not to say it should be removed. I certainly commend both the RCMP and the municipal enforcement for the work that they are doing. They're doing a darn good job. And
you know what, I agree with you, and MES and Korean side with that stretch of highway. Not having any fatals in the city in a year is actually good on behalf of the work that we've done, in addition to, well, that's like our people saying I can't say the word quiet. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, like it's and it's part of the public, right? The public know, and the deterrent of the cameras is still, I think, a very positive thing, because who's been driving on the Henday since they took the cameras off of Henday, right? And the speeds have gone up, right? I'm in a police car and there's still people going by me, right? So with the expansion of the project out east here, are we going to be getting more person power? We're going in front of council at the end of March to ask for some more resources. Yes. Should I speak to the mayor about this?
We've got three of us in here.
You know what? So to be very blunt about it, there's lots of asks, right? The fire department needs, the police department needs, you guys have a tough position on council, right? Because you're balancing a bunch of things. I can come in there and be sparkling and ask for a bunch, but everyone's asking for that same bunch of people, right? So we only have so much money around, but we likely need a bit of help, right? So, go ahead.
During like fire prevention week, they always do like open house at the fire hall. So you guys ever considered maybe doing like an open house, come check out your police station?
Yeah, I think we could probably try and do that. Last year, because it was our 150th last year, we kind of did the barbecue at the precinct, and that was kind of our big thing. But I think we'll probably end up doing something around the detachment to come and see. Everyone wants to come and see ourselves. And I think there's probably a way to do that if you take them in the back door. So at least let people see the nice pink color that they are. But yeah, we can certainly do stuff like that. And we get a lot of help from the MES side and from the city, and we can bring some of our specialty units out there. We had one of our earth guys out to the barbecue at the thing, and everyone loved him, right? And the dogs, right? Bringing the dogs and letting the dogs run around and do their thing as well. So yeah, again, fire us if you think there's anything else that could be done. Like we love coming down to picnics in the park, and yeah, it's fun. Yeah, no, it really truly is. Part of certainly why I joined a number of years ago, right, was to help people, right? And I think we have to do a better job with some of that soft stuff versus just the enforcement stuff.
Yes, thank you for your presentation, Barry and Corinne, and all the members. Really appreciate all that you do. So the city has a youth council, and the youth council kind of serves as a liaison between council and the youth. And so these are kids that are between 14 and 24, right? And we recently got a whole lot of people. There's about 12 of them there right now, and various ages. And they've been broken down into different committees. So one of the committees is safe communities, and another one is mental health. And those are two things I think you've talked about here today. And I see alignment with the RCMP and what you're trying to do with your priorities with the youth. So I wonder though if there's an opportunity to work with them.
Absolutely.
So you want an invitation?
What's that?
You want an invitation?
Yeah, and that's all we need.
Okay, so I'm a council member on the youth council, so I can definitely do the connection.
So it really truly is that invitation. And like I said, we don't want to push in, because again, historically, we at one time used to call the RCMP, and we were a force, right? And we're not a force anymore, because we've gotten into lots of trouble in the past by doing that. So we don't want to force ourselves anyone. We certainly want to work with people, but having that invitation just gives us some instant credibility from the committee side or the community side to say, hey, listen, we've invited the police to come and talk about this, or we've invited to come and hang out doing whatever it is. So just give us an invitation, have it come through someone in the detachment, and you will get people to go there and just hang. Like sometimes it really truly is just hanging with the kids. Right?
Inspector Larocque?
Yep.
If I could just comment one on that as well, Councillor Arbatoy, is that the Youth Council has engaged with the policing committee and has attended policing committee meeting. They have done some work to present to us a report on safe communities and given us a lot of feedback about what makes youth feel safe. So we have been doing that engagement through the policing committee.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect.
But if we can enhance it somehow, let's sit down and put our heads together and try
Yes,
to enhance it.
because we just recently made actual committees, right? So before it was everyone doing everything, but now we have actual committees and people working on those specific tasks, right? So I think that's where,
Yeah, because I know we were in schools when that came out about the kids and the safety, right? So we went into the schools and taught the kids as well. So everyone just hang on for a second. Do we have anything online that we need to be addressing?
Sure, we've got some positive comments coming from Sarah Spence online, just thanking you guys, and she's got some good feedback. She did suggest perhaps a TikTok account to help engage with the youth.
We just had a cyber event in our detachment a week ago. I'm not sure if I'm ready for TikTok. Certainly, we have some restrictions. I think that we would probably have to work through with regards to that. But the city is trying to bolster their Instagram, right? Because again, Facebook is what I'm hearing now. It's saying the old people thing, so it's not necessarily what it is. So we've got to go to where the kids are. So I'm not sure if we're ready for prime time TikTok, but we certainly can look at some options to get to them. So,
It's not allowed in the city.
what's that?
It's not allowed through the city.
On TikTok? Okay, TikTok's out, I think.
Yeah.
So, just on, anything else? Okay, lady in the back?
Yeah, we have an angry TikTok with Barry LaRock.
Excellent. Yeah, my wife uses TikTok, and although I can say that there's some great recipes on it, because it works out that way. But yes, I'm not sure if we're ready for primetime TikTok. So, sir.
We're with the Sherwood Park Citizens on Patrol, and what we've been doing is going into some of the junior high and high schools, the impaired driving simulator, and it's a real opener for some of those kids, even if we give you special glasses that stimulates even one drink, and it's unreal how their eyes are open to this. We even had a few RCMP members kind of blow the course.
Doesn't surprise me. Yeah, so the gentleman from the COP in Strathcona, they advised that they're going to go out to Lamont in the end of May, right? I think it is. May 2nd, early part of May. And we talked about trying to get it into the schools here as well before. And last year we were trying to do it. We kind of ran out of the spring before it got to summer. And then again, everyone gets busy and we never got it back. So again, into the council thing, like if that's something that the parents would like to see exposed in the school, certainly let us know, and then we can get in touch with the COP from Strathcona and maybe make it happen.
One last question. In the 70s, there was a statute came out called the Bail Reform Act, and I know there's supposed to be some amendments that were made recently, apparently. Do you have any idea what amendments have been made, and are they any stronger? Okay, let's move on.
So they're working on bail reform right now. I know there was some reforms.
Oh, so it hasn't been passed yet?
Yeah, I don't, James, Darren, do you guys know exactly where it is? I know they're working on it with regards to, to say it bluntly, a lot of times we are dealing with the same people multiple times, even though they're under charge. There is a movement, there was a bill C-75D that was brought in when I was up north, so that would be about 4 or 5 years ago, that basically said that the government did not want people in custody prior to them being sentenced. And so there was a move to have people released. That's what the government decision was. Sometimes I think it's short-sighted, where the community may not be as safe having some people not in custody or under conditions. So that needs to be a continued work. I know that the chiefs of police, the Alberta Associated Chiefs of Police, are looking into that as well to try and be proponents to have that bail reform be a bit stronger. We've had some releases by the Justice of the Peace in our detachment that were questionable, right? We had one here just recently that we were trying to remand the person, and the person said they didn't have any money, and the justice said, okay, don't worry about that, and put a no cash release on. So, and again, we will be chasing this person probably in the near future, I'm guessing. So it's a real thing. I was in front of Lamont County Council last week, and that was one of the things they asked about as well. I got to be a bit careful with how I say things, but we could have a bit more support from the courts, I think, in terms of the release and maybe holding people in custody. I don't want to see people in jail either, I really don't. But sometimes there's no other options.
If I might, there was in fact some legislation that was passed, I believe, in January. However, the scope of that was quite narrow, and I believe it was referring only to very most violent offenders, and it wasn't necessarily going to benefit some of the people here who are doing prolific property offenses, for example. So I do believe there was some legislation passed recently. However, I don't know that it's going to impact local policing day things that we're dealing with on a regular basis. We're still seeing those bail hearings happening and those offenders still being released, most often without cash bail. They're being released on promise to appears, promise to pay, and sometimes conditions that are imposed, but we haven't seen a tangible result from that legislation yet.
So my first year here, we had a person that was released 3 times for stealing catalytic converters. And the 3rd time, I believe, that person got held finally.
Has the catalytic converter somewhat subsided? I know we've had a few from our area taken here in the last few weeks.
Ebbs and flows. We see them increase for a while, and depending on what offenders are out in the community at that time.
Was there any legislation ever developed in regards to like pawn shops where they have to register where they're getting converters from and all that kind of stuff? There was some talk about that.
So there was some for metal, scrap metal places, and then it got struck down because it was found to be unconstitutional. So again, they don't have to provide names and things of that sort. So, yes?
I'm just wondering, in the efforts of truth and reconciliation, what efforts are the RCMP or the taking, or is there any initiatives that you guys are taking in the efforts of truth and reconciliation?
So what we were trying to do is work with the Indigenous Society to do different things with them. We were at the round dances with them last year. And we continue to hopefully work with them again here in the future to do that. Yeah, we don't have a lot necessarily in terms of truth and reconciliation.
I can add a little bit to that as well. From the City of Fort Saskatchewan perspective, we've had a lot of opportunities for city staff to attend training, specifically from our Indigenous society and different leaders in the community to learn about all kinds of things from land acknowledgements, pow-pows, blanket ceremonies. So the City of Fort Saskatchewan itself is doing a lot of work in truth and reconciliation. We are ensuring that our staff get training specific to those different cultures and things like that. They have a lot of opportunities for training is one of our best steps that we can do for our staff.
And then again, I'll spin that mirror around and say, what should we do? Right? If people have ideas how to work in that truth and reconciliation sphere, what should we be doing? Because Barry doesn't really have the answers. So that's why I come back and say, what should we be doing? Let's have a chat about it and see what we should be doing.
And I guess training, like, has there been any training or efforts?
Yeah, so the RCMP, we do some online training. We'll do blanket exercises. Kind of on a divisional level, and I just hit the wrong button, by the way. So yeah, we do it on a divisional thing that we try and do. So, we've been asking questions, but now we'll just go to questions.
Yeah, I was just going to mention too, I'm working along with the displaced Ukrainians that have come to the province, and from a cultural standpoint, in Ukraine, they don't trust police. There's a distrust. So when they come here, they have a very, I would say, skewed idea of what the police, how it does behave in our country, where it might be on a little bit more of an ethical position, or they just feel there's a distrust there. So I think there would be some really good opportunities, just like the Indigenous, I think there would be some really good opportunities to potentially hold something and maybe include the police. Like now that you're suggesting inviting, it opens up the opportunity for people, other community members that are involved in engaging with different minorities and people that are coming into the community that might have a different idea of from where they come, of how the police are viewed.
Absolutely. Again, the Filipino community, one of the elders there has been working with me to try and get that student played the basketball game with. We've been to a couple events of theirs. Who went to did you with Justin, to the people from where?
That event was for Spanish people.
Yeah, so one of the companies had some people from Cuba, and so we went and spoke to them, because again, Cuba is very much, like you said, in Ukraine, there's a large mistrust of the police. So you went there, and Justin, we have a guy that speaks Spanish. Yeah, and we went and sat down with them and tried to give them some idea about what policing was like in Canada as well.
And the organization is the Saffron Center. Saffron Center, and it was the foundation of connection, how it can connect and communicate with your youth. And there's
Oh, okay.
presentations they do between either the
Saffron.
Is that the one, is that?
Saffron.
Sarah and Arminder work with
Yeah, is
Saffron.
that the sexual assault one too, or is that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'll share.
Okay, yeah, please do.
I thought maybe other people would really like to know that.
Yeah. So I'll just share an anecdote that happened to me. I was at our commanding officer had a diversity group come together over in Leduc one day. And so I went up to some gentlemen from East Africa. And the question I had was, because this is intimidating, right? And so I went to them and said, listen, like, should we be going to events with people from East Africa in uniform, or should we be going in plain clothes? And a very enlightening conversation. He says, no, you should go in uniform. And I thought, like, why? And he says, because in my country, he says, there's the secret police. And the secret police come along in the plain clothes, and they open the van door, and family members have been put in the vans, never to be seen of again. So again, it wasn't until asking a question did I actually get an insight that, yeah, this is maybe not the best, but being a police officer in plain clothes might be even worse, right? So again, insight.
Yeah, so I was going to say that I think it was in 2021, before you came, there was a roundtable conversation with diverse communities.
Yes.
So at the time, I think the Black Society wasn't formed, the Indigenous Society wasn't formed. A lot of all the groups have been created, right? So I think the Multicultural Association and then maybe some other groups. I think that's where the Black Society actually, that's where it started from, right? So I wonder if there was an opportunity, just back to what she was talking about, to invite these groups, have a roundtable conversation, and see, how you can continue to engage with diverse communities.
Yeah, Karine and I have talked about that, and actually we got the list of the people that were there, and we're going to try and bolster that. And again, it's finding those representatives that want to come. And that one, we would kind of be inviting them to come and meet with us, as opposed to us making an invitation. But yeah, Karine and I have had those conversations.
Just another question, kind of about like youth engagement, but also recruiting opportunity as well. I know my sister-in-law, she's actually the RCMP officer in Surrey, BC, and there they have a very big presence of youth engagement, where they have like the Youth Academy, where you come in and you do like a 6-week kind of boot camp kind of thing, to kind of show you the different opportunities of, what it's like to be a police officer and that sort of thing. Do you guys offer that?
Yeah, so we run those in Edmonton at our K Division headquarters. There's Soaring Eagles, I think is what it's called. And so we have those there, and then there's also ones that are run in Regina at Depot Division as well. So it's just a matter of getting, I think last year they were filled, actually. But it's trying to find kids that would be interested in attending those. But yes, we do have those events here in the province.
I just want to make a comment about the diversity side. Inspector Rock and many of the staff have been out at the Indigenous round dances. They've been out at the Filipino picnic in the summer, doing dancing with them. They've been at the Christmas party. Follow me on Facebook. He's on there many times, and you will see him as his official paparazzi.
That's right.
So, they do an amazing job getting out to these events. So, we need to give them accolades.
Yeah, it's pretty bad when you got the mayor taking pictures of you and I call it my paparazzi. We were at, I think it was the Filipino one, and they brought me up on stage, and I said, "Oh, hold on!" I says, "My paparazzi's got to get up and take a picture of me." So, yes, it's nice to be out in the community. I spent a large part of my career doing work that didn't involve me to be out in the public, so as I get to the twilight of my career, I enjoy getting out and meeting with people and meeting kids, and seeing some happy faces and things of that sort. Most of our members like doing that as well. Like I said, there's some that are a bit introverted that don't necessarily like that, but I think that's something that you grow into. The responsibility that we have as people, and then as members of the RCMP who wear this thing, it's a fair bit of responsibility, and so it takes some people to grow into it. And some of our people are young, some people are older, but it does take some time to grow into it, and we are a pretty young detachment, contrary to the three of us sitting here tonight. But thanks very much, Mary. It's easy. It's really easy to come out, and like I said, we're like, the RCMP are like an old heavyweight box. We can take body shots, and if people want to ask the tough questions, we'll try and answer the tough questions, and if not, we'll get that answer for people, because we are ultimately here to serve the public. We are public service, and if people have questions, I joke, I says I got 3 secrets, and those are in the safe at the office, and most everything else I will share with you, because I think it's our responsibility to share things with you as well. Lauren, anything else in, did you make something up and say I look handsome or something like that? Leave everyone with that?
There's that too.
Okay, thanks.
I will invite everyone to, we've got some questions on the back wall. Before you leave, feel free to jot down some notes and some sticky notes and stick it up there. It's another way to, if you don't want to speak up right now, you can engage that way as well.
So it's going on to, what, 7:30, 8:30? And as we were playing volleyball last night and we started at 8:30, most of my team said, I'm normally in bed by an hour already. So if anyone else has any other questions they'd like to share with the group here tonight, you're more than welcome. We'll be hanging around for a while, obviously eating cookies. And if you'd like to come up and chat individually, if someone has very specific situations they'd like to talk about with names and things of that sort, we certainly can, but we will move that off-site somewhere. But thank you very much for attending. One of the things we never know, right, who's coming and who's not coming to these things. So thank you for those who came tonight. Thank you for Mayor and Council for coming, and thank you to our COP colleagues from Strathcona. I have to say with all sincerity, Fort Saskatchewan is a really great place to be working, and a great place to live, because I live here right here in the community. One of the things I want to stress is we are safe. Yes, stuff is happening, and yes, we've got vehicles getting stolen, and yes, we have some kids punching each other in the nose, but we are in a really, really safe community. We have some things we got to keep working at, but I stress to all the people and to all the people who are out in the internet land, not on TikTok, that we are in a safe community, and our civil leaders are supportive of us continuing to be a safer community. So thank you very much for attending. Karine, do you want to say some final words?
No, just thank you very much for coming out tonight. We appreciate it.
So thanks, Jesse, for getting us up on the internet. We really appreciate that. And hopefully we can build on this. And we are here to serve you. We are here to communicate with you. We're here to listen to you. Might not necessarily be the case on the side of the road when we're going to hand out a ticket, but tonight we're here to listen to you. So if you'd certainly like to have conversations, we're going to be around for a while. Thank you very much for attending.